This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. This is episode number 402, and my guest today is Obi Dorsey. As real estate investors, many of us are hunters. We're always looking for opportunity. However, that exposes us to lots of shiny objects, and more often than not, it can get us sidetracked and causes us to lose focus on what's important to us in our business. The beauty of the opportunity as a real estate investor is that a relatively small number of deals can literally change your life. The downside is that it'd be real easy to miss out on seemingly a little thing that could turn into a deal that could have been a super profitable deal for us, and maybe it never would have happened because we were focused on something else. Today, Obi and I discuss the importance of staying focused, avoiding shiny objects, and saying no much more so you can achieve your goals as a real estate investor. Both Obi and I agree that it's very difficult even for us to stay focused sometimes because there's so much opportunity out there, but you've got to do it if you want to be successful. It's going to be a great episode. Please help me welcome Obi Dorsey to the show. Obi, welcome to the show, my friend.
Mike, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Always good to see you. Always good to see you. For folks that are listening in, Obi's been on the show before. It's probably like maybe almost, I bet you it's been almost a year ago. It's been a while. And we actually have been talking here for, probably a half hour anyway before we started the show, just catching up. And so I do that with all my guests. What I've kind of found is we used to try to find new guests all the time. We were discussing this a few minutes ago. And what I found is I've been able to forge some good relationships and develop a lot of respect for people that I've had on the show before. And so we often, you'll see in the year ahead, we'll have a lot of guests on that have been on before because, the reality is these are pretty experienced folks that we could have 10 different shows on and talk about different topics and deliver a lot of value. And it's also good for me because I've developed friendships that, we're all busy. And one way that I have to catch up with people is by doing the show, actually. So anyway, excited to have you back, Obi.
Be efficient with your time. Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. It's kind of, what's happened with the show. This is show number 402. And what's happened is over time, I've realized that, hey, I really enjoyed my conversation with this person, or I really like this person, or I really like what they're doing. But I haven't talked to them for a long time now. And so, we all want to follow up more than what we're able to with people. We get so busy in our lives that sometimes, months and years go by and you're like, man, I can't believe I haven't talked to you for a year or 6 months or whatever it might be. So,
yeah. So Mike, I might put you on the spot for a minute. I'm kind of curious, after doing 430 plus FlipNerd shows, like you've got to have learned some extremely efficient tools to allow yourself to utilize your time so well. I think you kind of hinted on it a little bit earlier when we were speaking offline, but that's, I guess, where I'm going with this is I've become more intentional with my time and my energy, trying to plan the day ahead or, even a week, a month out, or sometimes a quarter out. But you mentioned earlier that you're using some software to kind of allow people to schedule meetings with you. What are you using to do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there's quite a few out there. We happen to use one that probably most people listening won't want to use. It's called Appointment Core, but it's specific to Infusionsoft, which I know a lot of real estate investors don't use. It's like a Ferrari for hauling manure if you're a real estate investor in terms of a CRM. So we use it for a lot of marketing automation and sending our newsletters and stuff like that for FlipNerd. But yeah, there's like Meet Me, and there's a whole bunch of like different softwares out there. If you Google it, you probably find 50 of them. But yeah, we use tools like that. We use I haven't talked a lot about it on the show. I talk a lot about it to my kind of coaching students, but we use a free tool called Asana, which is a task management tool, ASANA. And we've developed, honestly, it's free. They have some paid versions, but we probably have 50 projects going on right now, which a project for us could be a show like this, where my team has like 50 things to do, from inviting the guest to editing it, publishing it on iTunes, and posting it on social media, and all those things and everything in between. Or a project could be an assignment deal that we're doing, or a rehab. When we rehab a house, we've got like 75 tasks or something that we do over and over again, from have the seller sign the contract, give it to me as the buyer to sign, send it to the title company, put a lockbox on the door, all the way to make sure the wire came in, and archive the file ultimately of the house, So for everything we do, we're trying to be like template based now, because let's face it, a lot of the stuff that we do is the same thing over and over and over again. We're very much in a templated type business, really, right?
No, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that you don't do that ends up giving you fits and hiccups.
Right.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. This week, we recently stopped putting appliances in our flips until they actually sold, because we had them stolen a couple times.
Yeah.
So as a knee-jerk reaction, we said, okay, well, we won't put appliances in anymore. Well, we haven't yet put a tripwire in place to make us remember to order the appliances before steel closes.
Yeah.
So this week we scrambled to put appliances in 3 houses that we forgot that we needed them in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how in this business, you said knee-jerk reaction, but we tend to do that. Like, something happens one time and you're like, that's never going to happen again, and here's how. And you kind of we just like make these big decisions that impact our business and maybe our team in a lot of ways. So, well, yeah, I think, and by the way, the last time that, what we're going to talk about today, everybody, is just being focused. I mean, I think a lot right now in this real estate market, no matter what country you're in, it's competitive right now. I think we all feel the competitive pressure. The real estate market's on fire, and that just brings in new people that want to invest in real estate. I think it doesn't help that the stock market's on fire too, and there's some people that are starting to pull back on that and say, well, maybe I'll just shift over into real estate now. And we're in an up market, so there's lots of opportunities there. But what happens is, I think a lot of us start trying to do too many things. Like there's a lot of stuff that could work, but we're spread so thin trying everything. And, probably social media contributes to that, right? You hear somebody talk about something that they did that worked, and you're like, oh, we're going to start doing that. And now we're going to do this, and now we're going to do that. And so we all have shiny object syndrome. So we're going to talk about that today, because probably Obi and I both might be recovering addicts of shiny object syndrome. And I think maybe all entrepreneurs are. Like, we have, we're visionaries, we have ideas, but at the end of the day, we've got to execute. So did I sum that up pretty good, Obi, what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Hey, before we dive in, maybe take a couple minutes and just, for folks that don't know you yet, don't have the pleasure of knowing you yet, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So Obi Dorsey, I own Freedom Home Buyers, Freedom REI here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're a family-based business. My wife works with me. We've actually been in business for 4 years at this point, beginning our 5th year. We buy about 100 to 120 houses a year. We've got a team of about 6 at this point, and we're a combination of wholesale, fix and flip, and own a small rental portfolio. And so you kind of mentioned earlier, some of the things that are working for us, and so I don't know where your listeners are at in their business, but what I've found is that I do have a bad habit of kind of shiny object syndrome. So I see something that's working for somebody else, and I want to try it, and want to make it work for me. And so I was pretty good at that because I'm an entrepreneur and I am good at starting stuff. So before I knew it, I had like 12 or 15 different lead gen strategies that were bringing in deals, and they were bringing in deals periodically. But what I ultimately realized is that, like, whether it's bandit signs or whether it's sticky notes on doors or whether it's MLS or pay-per-click or Facebook or, the auction sites or direct mail or,
right,
I don't know, calling people, like, it all can work and it all does work. But ultimately, when we really get down to it, it's what works best for you and your personality and your resources and your skill set. And then where do you get the most bang for your buck?
Yeah.
And so ultimately, what we've done in the last, it's like a pendulum, right? Like I've seen it in my business swing all the way to, we're going to try to do everything, and then it's like, okay, hold on, the wheels are coming off. We can't do that. It's not what we can do. It's what we should do, and then it's saying no to those shiny objects.
Yeah. Are you looking to change your life through real estate investing? If you're interested in either getting started or taking your business to the next level, please check out FlipNerd's Real Estate Investor Coaching Program at flipnerd.com/coaching. I'm Mike Hambright, founder of FlipNerd.com. I'm not only a successful real estate investor that's purchased hundreds of houses directly myself, I've been a mentor and coach for real estate investors for over 8 years. In fact, I've mentored hundreds of other investors, many of which started with little to no prior experience. And during the time that I mentored those specific investors, they purchased over 3,500 properties. We have limited access in our program on how many people we can work with at a time. If you'd like to learn more about our FlipNerd Real Estate Investor Coaching Program, we'd like to schedule a call with you to see if you might be a fit. If this sounds exciting to you, please visit flipnerd.com/coaching to schedule a call with a member of my team. We're looking to change lives through real estate investing. I've worked with many others. If you'd like for us to consider you, please go to flipnerd.com/coaching right now to get started.
Swing all the way to, we're going to try to do everything, and then it's like, okay, hold on, the wheels are coming off. We can't do that. It's not what we can do. It's what we should do, and then it's saying no to those shiny objects.
Yeah, I think we all do that. We kind of, like you said, the pendulum swings. Like you're all in, and then you're like, never doing that again. Let's just do this. It's funny. It's not funny. I think one of the things that I know you have some employees, so I think that's where things get a little more complicated. Not complicated, but I've just found that if I try to, like in my mind, I can accomplish anything. And I'll work however hard it takes to make it work. Mm-hmm. But employees don't usually have that same attitude as a business owner. For them, and I'm not to say that we don't have good employees, but it's a job for them, and they like if they wanted to work 24/7 and keep conquering new things, they probably would be a business owner themselves. And so I found whenever I get somebody spread too thin and I just start throwing it out, like, I want you to go figure this out, I want you to go figure that out, they get overwhelmed and they just tend to focus on either what I asked most recently or whatever was easiest for them. It's kind of like they follow the path of least resistance. And so from a lead generation, like for example, I've had acquisitions people in the past, we've never really had much success here with buying off the MLS in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Just honestly, out of hundreds of houses, I've bought like 3 or 4 off the MLS, and those weren't my best deals. And we put in hundreds of offers to get those. But at one point, I told my acquisitions guy at the time to, hey, start when you're out on an appointment from our leads that we generate from advertising. Like you're looking at the comps anyway. Just pick 2 or 3 houses that are on the MLS and make offers. I thought that was efficient because, well, we already know about what the ARVs are in that neighborhood, and you're kind of there anyway. And so what happened is his follow-up on our best leads from advertising totally fell apart because he just liked to be in houses. He didn't really like to have to call people, and so it's like something's going to give. No matter what decision you make, things are going to give if you try to just stack too many things on.
100%. It's all trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is. It is determining what your core focus is, and then getting laser focused on that focus. And I recently heard Darren Hardy speak, and the constant question that he asked was, what the focus with the emphasis on that focus.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, let's talk about. So I know there's a lot of things that real estate. Let's maybe start to dive into some advice of people that are out. A lot of these Facebook groups have thousands or tens of thousands of people in them. Everybody's got an opinion or an idea or something worked one time for one person, and then everybody thinks it's like the gospel now. Like everybody needs to shift over here. And talk a little bit about maybe give some tips on how to stay focused and not get too distracted on new shiny things in this business.
Sure. So I think I think the biggest thing is being intentional. So kind of crafting a plan and then execution of your plan, and breaking things down into quarters. Essentially into 3 month blocks, and eating that elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
So if I can, a tool that I found recently that's really helped me out a fair amount is this self journal. I'm not sure if you've seen this out there or not, but it's a phenomenal tool, and I'm using it quite a bit. And
what journal is that?
It's called a self journal.
Self journal, okay.
SELF.
Okay, I couldn't see what your hand, because I don't know if you know this. This is totally off topic. My wife sells a journal on Amazon.
Oh, does she really?
Yeah. It's called the Ignited Life Journal. And in fact, she has a second product launching here in the next week. It's like a bucket list journal. But anyway, yeah, she's yeah.
I mean, that's awesome that she has one.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is that you use something, right?
Yeah.
So let me introduce you to my original.
Yeah. That's the original CRM, right?
Yeah, the original CRM, and
the yellow pad. For those of you that are listening, he's holding up a legal pad.
Yeah, it still works. But the intent or the idea obviously is just being, crafting your plan and your goals the night before, reviewing them the day of, and then the other thing would be, have you seen this book, Brian Tracy's new book? Eat This.
I'm familiar with it. I haven't read it yet, but I've seen it.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, right?
Why don't you say, what is it called there for people that are listening?
Yeah, so Brian Tracy, world-renowned writer, has written a book, Eat That Frog, 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time.
Yeah.
So it's one of my recent reads. I have like tons and tons and tons of notes in mind, because, the stuff that he's telling is not like it's earth-shattering. It's really not. I mean, some of it's really kind of common sense, but common sense applied can have some phenomenal results.
Yeah.
So, Brian Tracy got the title from Mark Twain, and Mark Twain has a famous quote. It says, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. And so, I've got it posted up on my wall big, so I'm looking at it all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's usually those hardest things, the things that we kind of procrastinate, the biggest things that we actually get the most bang for our buck when we accomplish them and we actually get them done.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, I think a lot of us, a lot of entrepreneurs have tended to, your list of tasks, you can get 5 done in a day, just hypothetically, but somehow you're adding 10 to the list. And so the list is growing faster than what you can accomplish. And we tend to focus on the little things, because we like to check stuff off. So it's, let me just do this, let me knock this little thing out of the way. But that little thing doesn't really have any impact. Certainly not as big of an impact. So the book, I presume, which I haven't read, and the quote from Mark Twain there is, focus on things that are going to move the needle, right? And just really focus on the big things.
100%.
Yeah. It's interesting because we just went through, a couple weeks ago, we went through an EOS implementation for some of you that I've got one around here somewhere, but read the book Traction. Traction teaches how to put a system in place of a cadence of meetings, and where your whole team is focused on. You have quarterly, you have 5, it says 10-year, 3-year, and 1-year goals, and then you break it down into a quarter, and then you break it down by week. What do I have to get done this week to hit that quarterly goal, and really getting laser focused. And after your team all agrees this is what we're going to accomplish, you can't add anything to that list for at least 90 days, and just stay razor focused. And so it's been good for my team. Honestly, my team loved it because it put we got our arms around what we're trying to accomplish here, instead of me flying by the seat of my pants. We're going to do big things. We're going to do awesome things. We're going to go do this awesome thing, and everybody's going to love it. And it's you can't measure that. And, and it's just too ambiguous to really just say, here's exactly what to go do to accomplish that.
Yeah. And then if I could share this, because it stems exactly off of what you're kind of talking about now. And that's we live in a social media world, and we're surrounded by, we see people. First of all, everything on social media is not real, so everybody needs to remember that, right? Like if it was, then there'd be a lot more happy people in the world. And the reality is just because it happened on social media doesn't mean that it's real. So, but beyond that is, like, at the end of the day, measuring yourself against somebody else is a really bad habit, and it can get you in a lot of trouble. And so, like, the only thing that really matters is the results that you're getting, and that's what you need to compare yourself to. That's ultimately what we're doing. So we've developed our own KPIs. We're measuring ourselves against our past results, and what gets tracked and what's get measured gets improved. And so that's what we're seeing. And since we've put some additional attention and focus on that, we're seeing some benefits of it. And I just encourage anybody, whether you're a one-man band or whether you've got a team of all-star superstars, it's still just a matter of knowing your numbers and then engaging and measuring yourself against that.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That EOS teaches the same thing, and we have that now. We have a weekly, it's called a level 10 meeting, because it's like a management meeting. People that are there, they can go do things in my business. But we have a scorecard, and every week we're like, we've just decided up front, if this number is, tell me what the number is for the week. If it's less than 5 or 10 or whatever the goal is, like, you're not doing well. And if you're doing, we kind of color stuff red, yellow, green based on performance. But maybe that's what we can talk about here for a little bit, Obi, is give people some direction. If they're newer real estate investors, there's you and I have never talked about this, but there's essentially a pretty common scorecard of your funnel. Like, how many leads do you have to get to turn it into a deal? And so, for example, everybody's metrics are a little bit different. Depends on what market you're in. If you're doing any creative finance strategies, you can usually turn more houses into deals, but they might be a little more complicated deals. But let's just say that you needed to get 30 leads to buy one house. Mm-hmm. And this is what I kind of teach. Hey, if you get 30 leads, you're probably going to you should go on about 15 appointments. Like, some of those are going to call and say, well, I just don't want to pay a realtor commission. And it's like, well, if you don't like paying a realtor commission, you're not going to like my offer. Right. And so whatever your funnel is, but just a hypothetical one of 30 leads, maybe you go on 15 appointments. From that, you make 10 offers, and from that, you get one deal, something like that. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if your goal is to buy one house a week, and if you have a scorecard that says, well, did I get 30 leads this week? If you got less than 30 leads, then on average, you won't get a deal. And so right there, your focus is, you're not really focused on generating motivated seller leads.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've implemented the metrics. We're tracking the metrics. We're finding that there's a lot of every time you adjust something, it changes those numbers a little bit. But the ultimate route is to track it and to improve it.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the benefits of that for sure.
Yeah. And for a lot of new real estate investors, I just want to emphasize that a lot of times your interest is buying a house, but you're not focused on generating leads. And mm-hmm. if you don't generate leads, you're not going to buy a house. It's a byproduct of getting leads. You get leads, you work the leads, and then a house pops out. And so whenever I have like newer people that are saying, well, I'm trying to do like a deal, I just want to start with a deal a month. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to generate 30 leads a month. How are you going to do that? Mm-hmm. Right? You got to kind of back into, this is my goal. Well, how do I get there? Well, you've got to generate leads. I mean, you'd agree with that, right, Obi?
100%.
Yeah.
And then just bookend that with the a lot of the actual deals come from that follow up. So
right.
A tickler system to stay in front of people, and it's sometimes it's the stuff that you've had incubating a little while that actually pays the biggest dividends.
Right. Yep. So what about saying no to stuff? Like, I know for me, it's been hard to say no. And part of this is, part of getting focused is obviously saying no a lot more to opportunities or to things you might do with your time that are not going to help you get more leads or help you hit your goal. Maybe you could share some thoughts on kind of saying no more.
Yeah, my thoughts are that anytime you say yes to something else, you're saying no to something else as well. So we only have so much bandwidth, and there's always got to be some give. So it's for instance, when you say yes to a deal and the deal is a skinny deal, you think it's a deal, but the numbers are a little bit tight. Those are the deals that we get over the line sometimes, and when we're all said and done, we go, man, we knew that was skinny going in. Why did we say yes to that?
Yeah.
It didn't really meet our minimum deal standards, and when it's all said and done, like even though you made money on it, you really might have, because there's opportunity costs, and it might have stolen another deal from you that you really could have done a lot better on. So.
Right.
Maybe that's not a perfect example, but that's the one that came to mind.
No, that's a good one. Everybody has a cash limitation. How much cash do you have? And if you got to go check on that rehab or do a showing to assign it or whatever, you're taking time away from something else, right? So I think it's a great strategy. In my house, we have a strategy like that with my wife likes pillows. Our bed has all these pillows on it, so I had to put this strategy in place. I'm like, anytime you find a new pillow, that's great, but another one's got to come off. It's the same. It's the same thing, right? She would kill me if I was telling. She would kill me if she knew I was telling that story. But
no, I love it. I love it. We've implemented the same thing with. I've got two little girls, 5 and 3, and so for every toy that comes in the house, 2 toys have to go out of the house. So, we're trying to put some controls in place.
Yeah. You got to have a scorecard, toy scorecard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we do. We have one for chores. We have one for the business. So what gets measured gets done. So
yeah. I think a lot of real estate investors, though, it's hard to say no because they see that as that is something I could do to maybe get a deal, right? And yeah, I'm
very guilty of that.
Yeah.
I need a deal or I'm going to take that deal because it's the next one in front of me. I know I can make money on that deal.
Yeah.
But that kind of comes from a little bit of a lack of, for me, I'm only speaking for myself. It came from a lack of confidence, and it came from a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And with that additional laser focus, and with that being intentional, and with the knowing our numbers a little bit better and paying attention to them. Ultimately, what we've done in the business over the last 6 months or so is we've increased our spreads on deals by buying deeper and selling better, and then repeating the process faster. So, I'd just encourage anybody out there to really, if you're just getting going, then talk to some experienced people, craft a goal as far as what that ideal deal looks like, and then go and hunt those type deals, and be willing to say no to some things so that you can say yes to others.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we mistake, and even if it's not deals, it's like you're trying to generate leads or you're trying to network. Like, it's real easy. Networking is critical. I mean, I talk about networking and the power of building your network as much as anybody. That's one of the things I'm doing here today, is building my network with listeners and with you, Obi. So I talk a lot about the importance of networking and building relationships in your market. But it's real easy to spend a lot of time going to a meetup group and having a happy hour before and maybe drinks afterwards. The next thing you know, you've spent like half your day doing something, and that stuff's fun. And I'm not advocating people shouldn't go meet people and network, but I think you always have to look back to the scorecard issue of what your goals are. Like, if my goal is to buy a house a month, let's just say, or 5 houses a month, whatever it is, when you have an opportunity to go do something, you just need to ask yourself, does this fit in line with my goals? Like, is this going to help me do something that is on my goal list, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or do I just really need to blow off and I need to go like get away from everything? That's okay too, but don't try to paint it as something that it's not. Like, that's you going to have a good time, totally fine, nothing wrong with that. But don't try to paint it as I'm doing this to build my business or to help my family or to some of the things that we say, this is my why. Well, I had to go to a happy hour, I'm trying to help the family. It's like, no, not really.
Yeah. Well, we're best at lying to ourselves sometimes,
Yeah,
right? So,
for sure.
Yeah, we believe everything we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
I love it, man. That's awesome.
When we went through the EOS process, I've got mine here in front of me. We're still firming a few things up, but you kind of spend time developing your core values. What are your core values for your business?
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of what is my passion? What is my cause? Like, what am I doing? What am I trying to do? And for a lot of us, our business is a means to help fulfill our core values, whether it's giving back or whatever. It's not necessarily to make money and live a better life. I mean, we all want that, but that's not a value. I don't know. But then you kind of define your goals, and so everything we do now, and we'll try to get better and better at this because we just went through the process. Is every opportunity that comes our way, say, is this part of my strategic plan and part of my vision? Does this meet what I'm trying to do here? And so I think it's helped me because I've asked a couple times, like, hey, I've got this idea for something, and my team is like, well, does it fit our vision? And so it's like, well, now that you said that, no, not really, but
yeah. Yeah, killing those sacred cows, right? Killing the stuff that the little pet projects that don't really align with the overall vision, and ultimately they sap energy from something else.
Yeah.
My wife and my business partner, we had a conversation about this week, and she promptly reminded me, hey, that's not part of the overall vision. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. But it sounds good. Yeah. Let's talk about one thing I want to kind of round this out with is not stopping too early. So I know there's a lot of ways to generate leads these days. You hear, a lot of people are questioning whether direct mail still works, whether pay-per-click's too crowded, but I think you and I both agree it all works. It's just a matter of probably why some of it's not working for people is that there's no doubt that it's more competitive now. But probably why it's not working for some people is they're spread too thin. They're trying 10 different things. And then what happens is, and we talked about this a little bit about staying focused, but the other side of that is people give up too early on stuff that does work just because they are on to the next thing. So talk a little bit about kind of having that fortitude to just stay focused on something until you make it work. Because most of these things, direct mail is not dead. Like, it still obviously works. It's just a matter of, are you putting enough focus on it? But let's talk a little bit about that, about just not giving up too early.
Yeah, well, so I think you're definitely on the right track. You're speaking from experience, and that's been my experience as well. So it's not going wide, it's going deep. Like, it's really becoming an expert in whatever of those niches it is that suits your skill set the best and suits your resources the best and suits just kind of your overall vision and personality and skill set. So, I think I mentioned from personal experience, like, we were trying to do 12 or 15 different strategies, and we weren't really doing any of them well. Right, and so we've said no to a bunch of those and said yes to the 4 that are really getting us the most bang for our buck. And we're trying to become, true experts in all of being an expert in 4 little different niches is kind of a daunting task in and of itself. But those are the ones that we see the most bang for our buck and over time that have given us the most reward. So that's where we're spending our time and energy, and there are a lot of little nuances even in those, and a lot of room for improvement. So I would encourage anybody just to master one master 1 or 2 before you open up more.
Right. Yeah, and back to the team thing, I think it's easy for your team to it's harder to hold people accountable when there's too many things going on, because they can kind of hide behind, well, you asked me to do all these things, but if somebody has, like, the fewer things they have to do, it's much easier to hold them accountable. It's much easier to measure your success, right? And obviously it's much as easier just to execute than trying to do a million things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something we've kind of experienced as we've kind of built out our team is that we've kind of adopted, like, the Henry Ford conveyor belt system almost. So like, you're responsible from this point to this point, and then you baton pass it to this person, and they're responsible this point to this point, and all the way down the line from lead gen to call intake to qualification to appointment setting to appointment, going to follow up to title transaction coordination to dispositions to closing, like really segmented and some accountability, because before there was a lot of like who's on first, who's on second.
Yeah.
We really struggled with that for a while, and everybody was trying to do good work and everybody was trying to work hard, but we were stepping on each other's toes and doing double work, and the stuff that wasn't important wasn't happening when it was supposed to happen.
Right.
That's just something that we've. I mean, it was really basic, especially when I voice it out loud. But truthfully, like there was a time where we were really having a hard time just with. We were getting stuff done, but it was really ugly in the process.
Yeah. Is your team all there, like locally in your office, or do you have any virtual staff, or do you have any people that kind of work remotely?
At the moment, everybody's in-house.
Yeah.
Everybody's here. Yeah. I find that for my communication and management style, that works a lot better.
Yeah, I get it. But it gets even harder when you do have people that are virtual, because they 100%. Are not privy to all those conversations or those little hallway conversations and stuff that, oh yeah, we did that, and so back to that tool Asana. I don't know if you're using any systems for that, but we use a task management tool. It's like a template of all the things we have to do, and every one of those tasks is assigned to somebody and has a date on it, and so that's one of the tools that we found that can help us kind of stay where everybody's at. But you definitely, no matter what you do, you've all got to be speaking the same language and be on the same page to be efficient in this business.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's a great tool, man. I'm going to check that out, actually.
Yeah, it's a good tool. Hey, Obi, any kind of final comments for folks that are, let's just kind of say you're talking to two different people. One is the person that's newer investor, they're trying to get things going, and one of them is a little more seasoned person, but what they were doing before isn't working as well as it used to. Like somebody's kind of moved their cheese, if you will. But a lot of it is probably based on focusing on too many things. And same topic we've been talking about here, but any kind of final words of wisdom, what you would tell them to go do next?
Yeah, I think for that entry level investor that's getting, or maybe has been going at it for a little while, or maybe is just getting going, but ultimately your money is made talking with buyers and talking with sellers, and it's making offers. And so there are other things that are necessary, but ultimately that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where your dollars are made.
Yeah. And
so I would just encourage anybody in that position to actually track how much time you're on the phone with sellers, like actual on the phone time, and how many offers you're making. And like you mentioned earlier, obviously how many leads are being generated. So those are kind of like your maybe 3 or 4 biggest indicators of success, is just like that's where the money is made.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the next piece to that would be, like, if you're making offers, I think you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your sellers to be able to make educated offers. So like a standard systemized way to kind of underwrite and evaluate properties and to determine offers.
Yeah, so that's great.
The quicker you can get those needed tools and utilize them and learn, the more effective and efficient you'll be in that space.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think it's real common for people to get to confuse being busy with being productive. Right?
That's very easy.
Yeah.
Very, very easy. Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, I'm going out for drinks to network, but it turns out to be a 4 or 5 hour
boondoggle.
Yeah. When you're said and done, like, were you really networking with people that could actually benefit you, or were you networking with other people in the exact same position that don't really have that wherewithal to
right.
help you?
Yeah.
And then to your second question, for the more experienced investor that's building out a team, I would say you're at that point you're biggest impact that you're going to have is the influence that you're going to have on your team, on your team members. And so the more that you can invest that time and energy on them and getting them up to speed, the better off you're going to be. And actually, I would even say it starts before you have the team. It's actually being intentional and focused on where you want those people to be, what you want that individual to be able to do for you, and then the recruitment and interviewing and hiring of the right person. I think the quality of individual that you ultimately have work for you is really impactful in the level of success that you'll have when you have a team.
Yep.
So a little bit more energy on the front end is going to save you a whole bunch of time and hassle and get you a lot further down the runway than if you just fire, aim, ready. Hiring people is not a place that you want to fire, aim, ready.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. And I think some of it is, just knowing what it is you want to accomplish, kind of back to your vision, right? I mean, we have multiple businesses. We have a house buying business. We have rentals. We have FlipNerd and all the stuff we're doing through FlipNerd with coaching and masterminds and things like that. And I found there's people that are on my team that have been here for years. And until we went through this EOS process, like I just kind of assumed everybody knew what we were trying to accomplish, But until I laid out, like, this is our vision. These are our, some of the things that we're shooting for here. And it took me, honestly, when I started to like have to put pen to paper and kind of like, or type it, whatever you do, but had to like actually say it, like just get it out of my head. And it just helped my team like line up and say, yeah, we agree with that now. And so I think, a lot of times in a small business, everybody's wearing a lot of hats and you just kind of assume that everybody knows what it is you're trying to accomplish. But unless you like clearly state that and almost like put it on your wall or something, frame it, then your team may not know what it is you're trying to accomplish, and therefore they're never going to be as efficient as they could be. No,
you hit the nail on the head. So, and then you touched on it earlier. If you're building a team out, I think having unless you come from like a management background or a corporate management background, something along those lines, and even if you do, I think it's really useful just to have a tool. So. Like EOS has got a great reputation. I know you're utilizing it. We're utilizing something similar. So just something to harness and track and measure and communicate that vision and goals and then the rocks or checkpoints along the way.
Yeah.
It's a necessity. It's not. If you're trying to do it without it, I think you're setting yourself up for failure for sure.
Awesome. Obi, thanks for being with us today.
Mike, thanks for having me back.
Always good to see you. Yeah. Oh, hopefully the next time it won't be so long before we talk again.
Yeah. Well, much continued success to you and all your listeners.
You too, man. So everybody, hey, this is episode number 402 with Obi Dorsey. Some great lessons in here about how to get focused, and even we suffer from these things. As entrepreneurs, we get new ideas and we're always looking for opportunities. And so I think if we get better at saying no, our businesses can perform better ultimately, even though it's hard. But appreciate all you listeners. Again, this is episode number 402. So every time I say that number, a number of a show, I'm like, I can't believe it myself that it's been this many episodes. But we're going to keep cranking them out here. I love doing this. I love talking to folks like Obi. If you've been listening to the show for a while, if you kind of liked what we talk about today, we'd really love it if you give us a positive rating on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, wherever you're listening to it at, even on YouTube, because those ratings help us and they kind of energize us to keep doing what we do. So appreciate you guys. Wish you all the best. We'll see you on another upcoming episode. Take care. Are you looking to change your life through real estate investing? If you're interested in either getting started or taking your business to the next level, please check out FlipNerd's Real Estate Investor Coaching Program at flipnerd.com/coaching. I'm Mike Hambright, founder of flipnerd.com. I'm not only a successful real estate investor that's purchased hundreds of houses directly myself, I've been a mentor and coach for real estate investors for over 8 years. In fact, I've mentored hundreds of other investors, many of which started with little to no prior experience. And during the time that I mentored those specific investors, they purchased over 3,500 properties. There are a lot of so-called gurus and experts all across the country most of which have nowhere near the level of personal experience needed to teach others how to build a successful and sustainable real estate investing business. Very few others have as much experience as I do, not only teaching others how to get started in real estate investing, but also showing others how to truly build a real business with systems and processes and all the tools to allow you to consistently do deals, so you have a real business, not just a hobby and not just a dream. We have limited access in our program on how many people we can work with at a time. If you'd like to learn more about our FlipNerd Real Estate Investor Coaching Program, we'd like to schedule a call with you to see if you might be a fit. If this sounds exciting to you, please visit flipnerd.com/coaching to schedule a call with a member of my team. We're looking to change lives through real estate investing. I've worked with many others. If you'd like for us to consider you, please go to flipnerd.com/coaching right now to get started. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the FlipNerd.com Investing Show. If you're not yet an elite member of FlipNerd, you're missing out. We have tons of great training, including a new detailed master class published each month and live training webinars with experts twice a month. Plus, you'll get access to all of our archives, where we already have a growing library of master classes and other training videos. Elite members also get membership in our incredible online mastermind group, where many of the top real estate investors from across the country, including many of the hundreds of guests I've had on the show in the past, are already members. Whether you're brand new, looking to get started, or a veteran, you simply must join today. I promise you won't be disappointed. To learn more or join today, please visit flipnerd.com/lab. That's flipnerd.com/lab. See you on the next show.